Namaskar, this is Akhilesh Bhargav. Welcome to Tit-Bits on Business and Finance with me. To state the very obvious, India's banking and financial system continues to reel under a severe stress under a severe financial and monetary crisis. The sector has been suffering immensely until India does not get into a stable and rapid predictable growth phase. The fortunes of the sector will only deteriorate, go down further and further. The sector has suffered because of various reasons, and it is not just because of today's situation. This has been happening, this has been in the making since the past few years in particular. The sector suffered first because of the continued slowdown in the Indian economy, which started from 2016, and that slowdown is on. The slowdown in the economy impacted the borrower's ability to repay loans, and that reflected on increasing NPAs and losses on the bank balance sheets. As if that was not enough, last year came the COVID pandemic and the lockdown and the closure of the economy. That meant that borrowers' cash flows had been hit so badly that the Reserve Bank of India was forced to ask banks to give a moratorium to the borrowers. It was easy for the borrowers to get this blanket moratorium, but it was extremely difficult on the finances and cash flows of banks, which only were hit even further. While all this has been happening, we are also aware that banks and financial institutions have been victims of serious frauds and financial mismanagement by the topmost management in various banking institutions. That explains why the Reserve Bank of India says that by October 2021, the NPAs in India's banking system could go up to about 14.7% of the total advances, which is an extremely worrisome figure. In our opinion, if the impact of COVID-20 was extremely bad on the balance sheets and fortunes of the banks concerned, then the impact of COVID 2021 on account of the current resurge which is taking place is going to be even worse. The banks are heading for yet another round of large NPAs, and it will only hit them more and more. Because of this, today, bankers have become averse to giving loans. And this aversion to giving loans is not just bankers to corporates or individuals, but even bankers giving loans to large NBFCs and large financial institutions. They have not been willing to give loans, they have been reluctant to do so. And that has also impacted the fortunes of the entire NBFC sector in the process, which used to very often depend on banks for additional loans and funds. What we have seen is a string of failures in the banking and financial sector because of these factors. It started with the collapse of ILFS in September 2018. We then saw Yes Bank happening, then PMC Bank came along, Reliance Capital collapsed, so was the case of Dewan Housing Finance Limited, so did Altico go down. Lakshmi Vilas Bank too went bankrupt till it was bailed out by DBS, and so was the case of 14 public sector banks which were so bankrupt that they had to be nursed back to health by the Reserve Bank of India under its PCA program. It's been a long list of frauds, failures and mismanagement in India's banking and financial system so far, and to us this list continues. There will be many more candidates coming along. If the recent statement by a whistleblower is correct, then the next in line of these questionable financial institutions is the asset reconstruction company of Edelweiss. If this whistleblower's complaint is right, then Edelweiss has indulged in large-scale siphoning of funds, and that could impact the entire stability of the company. As we said, it's a complaint made, it is yet to be investigated, but the allegations are serious. The complaint has been made by Mr. Paras Kuhad, who happens to be India's former additional Solicitor General and who, along with his family, is a 14% equity shareholder in the ARC of Edelweiss, which is the company in question. And he alleges that the promoters of the company have siphoned away about 1,800 crores so far, which is a most serious allegation. And of course, the company has come under investigation. The main allegations of Sri Paras Kuhad are that the Edelweiss ARC allotted 20% equity stake to an investor called CDPQ at a price which was much less than its fair valuation. He says that shares which had a fair value of 800 crores were allotted for a mere 500 crores by the ARC, resulting in a massive loss. He then says that while it is customary for the ARC to buy loan assets from other entities, including from its own group companies, in the case of the assets that it bought from its group entities, he says that the price paid by the Edelweiss ARC was highly inflated. He says that those assets which were bought at 95% of the value by the ARC from Edelweiss group entities would have been bought from other independent entities for a mere 50% of the value, thus implying that huge amounts of money were siphoned away by buying assets from Edelweiss group companies at a highly inflated value. He then says that the company repaid, or rather he says that the company prepaid certain loans which were at a very low interest rate to the Edelweiss group, even though they were not due and payable. And for repaying these low interest rate loans to the Edelweiss group, he says the Edelweiss ARC borrowed money at much higher rates of interest, resulting in a direct loss to the company. He then mentions that the Edelweiss ARC allotted non-convertible debentures to the same investor CDPQ and to Edelweiss group entities at very favorable terms, such that the entire risk of the investment was borne by the ARC itself, thus again resulting in a financial loss to the company. We are not quite surprised by the tenor and tone of these allegations, because to us all has not really been well at the Edelweiss ARC since quite some time. This was evident especially when the state of affairs of the Edelweiss ARC and the way it conducts its activities was out in the open in the Bharti shipyard case, in a scathing order that was passed by the NCLT in its case. So, as we said, we are not quite surprised, and while it is too premature to conclude anything, but we think that there seems to be substance in these allegations. The Edelweiss ARC, of course, outright denied each and every of this allegation made by Sri Paras Kuhad. It said that these are baseless allegations and that they are a gross misrepresentation of facts based on extremely selective and inaccurate information. The company said that all its transactions comply with the letter and spirit of the law, and that because it is an RBI registered and regulated entity, all is well, things have been complied with. The company refused to give any answers to specific queries, citing reasons of confidentiality. But the immediate reaction was, all is well, allegations are baseless, and that everything has been done with the letter and spirit of law. The fact is that if the Ministry of Corporate Affairs receives any credible complaint, investigation is initiated, the complaint is taken seriously, and so has been the case with this complaint. Reports say that the Ministry of Corporate Affairs has initiated an investigation into the entire affairs of the Edelweiss ARC. After all, there is huge public money involved. The ARC has a fund base of 45,000 crores involving public money directly or indirectly. If things are not well with it, systemic stability could be impacted, and thus larger public interests are involved. An investigation was needed, and the MCA did just that. While to be fair, it is too early to conclude anything against the Edelweiss ARC, but in case things are found to be as alleged by the whistleblower, then it would be the new entrant or the latest entrant to the list of India's banking and financial sector's fraudulent, failed and mismanaged entities. We hope that is not so. While we talk of Edelweiss as one entrant, the other two which have been on the line have been Srei and Indiabulls. Srei is a Calcutta-based huge NBFC with a total fund base involving public money of about 32,000 crores, of which banks have an exposure of 18,500 crores. Srei is under a special audit by the Reserve Bank of India because of a sharp deterioration in its loan book in the quality of its assets. As we said, banks have a huge stake in it, and banks too have started a forensic audit in the affairs of Srei in order to see whether it is a fit case for restructuring of loans or not. An Australian media site had alleged that there has been huge siphoning of funds in the Srei group, which of course the management outright rejects. But the fact of the matter is, Srei has been defaulting on its repayments. All is not well with the company, and the special audit and the forensic audits are continuing in Srei. The other one, of course, is Indiabulls. Indiabulls has also been in the eye of the storm and controversies. And the main allegation made by a whistleblower against Indiabulls is that it has indulged in rampant and large-scale circuitous lending with various entities in such a manner that the money got circulated and went into the personal benefit of the promoters of Indiabulls. It has indulged in this kind of circuitous lending with Yes Bank, where loans were received from Yes Bank and given back in such a manner that the promoter of Yes Bank benefited and the promoter of Indiabulls benefited. That has been the case with DLF, that has been the case with Vatika Group, that has been the case with Chordia Group, and that has also been the case with the Anil Ambani Reliance Group. Indiabulls also deserves a very detailed investigation, even though nothing of that sort has been really ordered so far. The larger picture that emerges according to us is that India's banking and financial sector has been shaky because of excesses of the past, and because of those excesses not getting rectified, particularly on account of slowing economy, and also because the system has not recognized this problem in a serious way. Because of that, things have only further deteriorated for India's banking and financial sector. If there was any chance of an improvement last year, the pandemic did it. It locked down the economy, it closed the economy, and the incidence of bad loans only went up further. The cash flows of the entire sector suffered, bad loans went up, and business has come down because bankers are not willing to lend. This has been impacting each and every entity in the banking and financial sector of India. The point to think is that if big entities are in such a bad shape, then the fate of the small entities is anybody's guess. To us, there could be yet another round of big failures in the sector, and it is up to the government and Reserve Bank of India to see how to bail out the deserving ones and to see how would those which are fraudulent are closed down and the promoters taken to task. This is Akhilesh Bhargav signing off till we meet again. Namaskar.
Hello everyone. HW News English is 2 years old now. When we started this venture, we promised ourselves one thing, that news should remain free, because right to know is the right of every Indian. But to keep news free for everyone, we need support from some of you. And thus we have rolled out membership on our YouTube channel HW News English. But mind you, the membership is completely voluntary. The programs that we were doing earlier, that we are doing now, will continue to remain free. First level is a basic level. Here, you can be our supporter by paying Rs 199 per month. This membership gives you certain perks and benefits. The perks include unique badges in front of your name, a live show from Mr. Sujit Nair and from Mr. Akhilesh Bhargava per month for our members. You can also vote in some exclusive members-only polls. Now the second level is Super Supporter. Here you can be our Super Supporter by paying Rs 3,999 per month. This membership will include every perk that comes with basic level. Additionally, our Super Supporters can be a part of a WhatsApp group where we can have discussions and suggestions on various topics. The second perk includes a gift pack with our merchandise. And the third perk is a Google Meet with Mr. Sujit Nair, where you can join the meet and ask your questions to Mr. Nair face to face. Lastly, if you like, we would give a shout out to our super supporters in our programs. So, hope to see you soon with our badges.